Alright guys, Man United have just held on to beat Brentford by a goal to nil in a game that I thought was tough to call before kick-off, because going into it I was thinking about Brentford's away form, and their away form isn't amazing. Their home form's certainly better, but that's a common thing for any team in the Premier League. But they seem to actually, I don't know, do better against the bigger sides away from home. Like they've recently got a draw at the Emirates. This season they also won at the Etihad. Last season they got that amazing win at Stamford Bridge. I think it was 4-1. So they're capable against the big teams of getting a result away from home. But I was also thinking about how United were going to miss Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield. Was that going to make a big difference? But then again, you've also got to take into account United at home. They're very tough to beat. They don't lose very often at home. When they're playing like a good team, that is, and they have been this season. So, they're not going to lose at home very often. So I think in the end there was multiple outcomes to this game, and there pretty much is for any football match. But United, they got the early goal in the first half. Marcus Rashford, really good knockdown by Sabitzer, I think it was, to him. And, Rashford relaxed with the finish. He didn't sort of thrash at it. He just sight-footed it into the roof of the net. It was a really smart finish and enough to win United the game in the end. But what I think was impressive about this game from United was how, obviously, Brentford, they're a decent team. And in the second half, United managed to stay in control of the game. There was very few moments in the second half where United looked anything out of control, like they'd lost any control. There was one moment where Kevin Schade went through on goal after he'd come off the bench, and De Gea did quite well to save it, but I think Schade could have done a little bit better, actually, with the one-on-one opportunity. There was also a moment where De Gea had a bit of a nightmare clearing a ball that Ivan Toney was very quickly closing down. That could have gone a lot worse than it actually turned out. But, you need a bit of luck at times, and United got it. But first half, they were in complete control of the game. And, yeah, it never looked in any doubt, basically. But that's one thing that United have been criticised of in the past few months, more than anything this season, and that is sometimes not getting the second goal in a game and not being able to kill the game off. But today, I think they were in that much control that it didn't really matter too much, as long as that Brentford were never getting wave after wave of attack, which never really happened. Like Ten Hag, I think, made the right substitutions at the right time, bringing on Fred. Lindelof came on as well. Martial, meaning that Rashford gets pushed out wide so they could use his pace on the counter-attack. So, yeah, there were some smart substitutions. However, I think the downside for United was Luke Shaw having to go off injured. And that'll be a miss for them, although Malacia, when he came on, didn't do too badly. He's been a bit hit and miss this season, Malacia. There's been times, like at the start of the season when he first came into the team, where he looks like a really good young fullback. But I think since his appearances have become a little bit more spread out and, less consistent in terms of getting a run of games, that's where he started to look a little bit shaky. So he might just be a player who, needs a couple of games to get his mojo and, get into his best form. I think that's the best way of putting it, to be honest. It's obviously going to be disappointing because Luke Shaw's been a brilliant player for Man United this season, and I think he signed a new contract as well yesterday. I think I read that somewhere. So, it's not the best first game under that new contract for him. But yeah, as I say, United, they never looked out of control in this game. The midfield, McTominay, I thought, was absolutely brilliant in this game, and he's having a really good few weeks, obviously with Scotland as well, scoring 4 goals in 2 games, including 2 against Spain to beat them 2-0, which is a huge result for Scotland. And yeah, the past 2 games for United, the Newcastle one didn't go very well, but this game I thought he was one of United's most important players tonight. And they had some other good performers as well, United. I thought Anthony, despite how when he did go forward, not everything came off for him tonight. He obviously likes to cut inside on his left foot and try and bend them into the top corner or find someone at the back post. And it didn't really happen for him, but I thought defensively he was a lot better than he has been at times this season. I think back to that 7-0 defeat to Liverpool, I think in that game, Diogo Dalot at times was very isolated up against Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez and Andy Robertson on that left-hand side. I didn't think Anthony was really pulling his weight defensively in that game, but tonight it was definitely an improvement. And I think also after the weekend, United got a lot of criticism for a lack of control in the Newcastle game and a lack of being able to get on the ball. And also defensively, they got a bit of criticism as well. But I don't think that's much of the problem for United. I think Varane and Lisandro Martinez, I think they've been brilliant throughout the season. I know people will say, oh, but they lost 4-0 to Brentford in August. They conceded 6 to Man City, 7 to Liverpool. So I don't think that's purely down to them, though. I think that they're a very good defensive partnership, and it's not the area that United needs to look at improving right now. I think United, in terms of improvements, need to look at a centre forward definitely, because as much as Ten Hag gives Weghorst praise, are United going to sign Weghorst permanently in the summer? I very much doubt it. I'd be very surprised. I think they need a target man who Rashford can play off, and Anthony and Bruno Fernandes can, supply balls to and create opportunities for. And I think maybe also another central midfielder, because as good as Casemiro and Eriksen have been this season, they're not spring chickens. They're both in their 30s now, so they need someone who is going to eventually take over them in a few years' time, I think, because Fred and McTominay, they're good players, but they're never going to be, I don't think, at the level required to be starting week in, week out for Man United. I think they're very, very good backup options for Man United, but I think United need a slightly higher quality in terms of starting central midfielders, because the difference that Casemiro and Eriksen have made to this Man United team this season has been astounding. So, United don't want to start drifting back. They need to, keep pushing forward, I think. And Ten Hag's, doing a brilliant job so far, and they just need to make sure that they can secure top 4 this season, because Newcastle, they're looking like the informed team at the moment in that top 6 again. As well as Arsenal and Man City, obviously. What I mean is Newcastle are looking like the informed team out of the teams that are challenging for top 4. That's what I meant. But for Brentford, back to Brentford, it was a disappointing game that I'm sure they didn't get much success out of the game plan they were really going for. They weren't putting much pressure on United. In fact, there was very little pressure at all in the first half. The second half, there was a bit more, but it wasn't really enough at all to really trouble Man United. And the substitutions that Thomas Frank made, bringing on Josh Da Silva, Shandon Baptiste, Jon Visser, Aaron Hickey, Kevin Schade, didn't have enough of an impact really. And nor did the players who started the game. I thought Damsgaard, he's yet to really do anything so far for Brentford, for me, that's really proved that he's, I don't know, a difference maker in this Brentford team. I think when you look at Brentford's midfield, I think you can see what Norgard does. Norgard is absolutely brilliant at breaking up opposition attacks and, you know, getting the ball to other players in the midfield like Matthias Jensen, who's having an amazing season, like creatively for Brentford. But Damsgaard, I just don't see it just yet with him. I mean, he's still a young player. He's had a lot of problems over the past couple of years with fitness and injury. So, you know, it could just be one of them. It's not really like he's been in the starting 11 for the entire season. It has been more of a recent thing where he's been properly introduced to this Brentford team. So I think, yeah, he deserves a little bit more time because he's not been terrible, but he's not really shown anything just yet to show that he can really make a difference when he's in this Brentford team. And also I thought one other thing that players like Varane and Martinez deserve credit for is the fact that they sort of stopped any sort of link up between Ivan Toney and Brian Mbeumo. In fact, Mbeumo, the time he was on the pitch, he was, after what was a really good performance from him against Brighton at the weekend, I thought he was, I don't know what the correct word would be to describe his performance, but ineffective, I think, maybe would be the correct word to use, because he just wasn't able to, you know, get the ball, or, you know, when he made the runs, Ivan Toney was sort of doubled up on by one of the midfielders for United, and usually Raphael Varane being the one out of the Man United centre-backs who is more able to challenge for the ball. I mean, that's not going to be Martinez's strong point, is it, standing at 5'8", but he certainly has other brilliant abilities to his game, Martinez, rather than... He's not bad in the air, it's just he's limited, really, isn't he? That's just a fact of life, really. The shorter you are, the more you're going to struggle to win a header on a football pitch, especially when it's a duel. So, yeah. Where was I going with this? But yeah, it's just one of them for Brentford. Not their best performance, but I think they've got Newcastle at the weekend, so that should be another tough game for them, but it'll be interesting to see how they do. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.